Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to today's program. Can everyone hear us? Sound check. Okay, Mataji, we'll wait for the Prabhu to come. I think there is an internet problem, but let's see.
Yes. So I'm joined with my phone now.
Okay.
Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, welcome. Hare Krishna. Sound check.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you have to unmute yourself. You unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, welcome Prabhu. Hare Krishna, the Ashmita Mataji will start now. Welcome everybody.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This evening, we warmly welcome His Grace Vibhu Chaitanya Das. Prabhu needs little or no introduction, as most of us already enjoy his wonderful disposition, his electric energy, and his contagious enthusiasm. So with utmost gratitude, we thank you, Prabhu, for affording us your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you also to all devotees that have joined us. I now hand you over to His Grace Vibhu Chaitanya Das. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So welcome devotees and thank you all for having me once again here in our virtual Westfall Namahata. It's always an honor to be with the Vaishnavas. So we'll continue today from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, but before that we'll sing Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjabi Hari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Jaya Radhama Tava Jaya Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radhama Tava Jaya Kunjabi Adi Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Shodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Nitya Gora Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaha Padantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebeyo Vaishnabeyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll continue our discussions on the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is the Adi Leela, chapter 13, text number 123. Anyone who attains a human body but does not take to the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is baffled in his opportunity. Amrita Duni is a flowing river of nectar of devotional service. If after getting a human body, one drinks the water in a poison pit of material happiness, instead of the water of such a river, it would be better for him not to have lived, but to have died long ago. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are unlimited. It is described that from time immemorial, even Ananta Shesh with these unlimited amounts of hoods cannot even describe these unlimited pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It's said that even a fool, just like me, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes, even a fool can describe the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are so grateful for coming in touch with this most divine consciousness, this deep consciousness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur has described that this material world is without Krishna consciousness. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna consciousness personified. These glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are unlimited. And anyone, a learned man or scientist, who is going about his duties in this world without the mercy, without the knowledge of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is deemed to be just wandering uselessly. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu adds the life. He's the living force of the Vaishnavas. He, together with the Panchatattva, have come to bestow the most ultimate benediction to all the living entities, no matter what one's caste is, no matter what one's sex is, no matter where one comes from, no matter if one is in a human form of birth or an animal form, or insect or beastly form or tree or non-moving entity, it doesn't matter. Everyone gets this mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have described last week this opening verses of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in the Adi Leela. The Adi Leela is dealing with the beginning pastimes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Madhya Leela is dealing with the pastimes from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepting sannyas. And the Antya Leela is dealing with the latter pastimes or the end pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in this world. But Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami opens these the Chaitanya Charitamrita with these first 14 verses. And with these first 14 verses, he describes that this first 14 chapters are really the preface of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's over 320 pages just as the preface. This is how much of detail Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami goes of establishing the truth, the five truths in these five truths. And these five truths come as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, Gadara Pandit, and Srivas Thakur. He takes so much of time to explain the external reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming, the internal reasons for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming, and then he gets into the actual appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming. And this is the glory of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, where he goes on describing that he doesn't really want to become better. He doesn't want to get proud of becoming better than his predecessors who have also written the biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Murari Gupta has stated it in a poetic form. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is none other than Vyasadeva himself, has written the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Srila Lochan Das Thakur has also written the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but later they changed the name to Chaitanya Mangal. So he comes and he's glorifying these other authors. He's not putting them down at all. Nowadays in the material world, if we find something that we better at, oh, this person is like this and that, we shouldn't read his work or we shouldn't listen to this person, we know better. But Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami doesn't do that. He goes on glorifying them. He said, I'm just adding for some parts that they haven't elaborated on. And this is the parts I am doing. And this is what I'm doing. These personalities are glorious on their own. And this is the mood of a Vaishnava. This is the mood of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, who is humility personified. And this is the line of disciplic succession that we are all connected to through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. It's described that back in 1975 in Kartik, where Prabhupada just completed this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, or was it a year earlier? It slips me now. But he completed the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was on Rama Ekadasi during the month of Kartik. And Prabhupada normally goes for an early morning walk just after the morning program. And this time he didn't. Srila Giriraj Maharaj went up to the room and the servant said that Prabhupada is really, really tired, but he just has finally completed the translation to Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he said that when he wakes up later in the day, we should all have a big feast to celebrate. And if one reads the deep meanings of Prabhupada's conclusion in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will see how much of love Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who have described that the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is their favorite book, and they have been reading it every single day. What Prabhupada has done in his purpose to this book and the Srimad Bhagavatam is basically manifesting what's in his heart into this transcendental written literature. This is what Prabhupada is giving. He's giving us love for Krishna, or love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu right here in every word that he has written in his books. He's giving us a way of life. He's showing us the culture and the etiquette of a Vaishnava, how a Vaishnava behaves. And he's connecting us to this parampara, showing us where we belong to. And this is our lineage of what we are descending from. We are so fortunate, Vaishnavas, to come in touch with Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, the 6 Goswamis, and going back to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. It just happened over a space of 500 years ago, which is not a very long time in this material world. It is really a short space of time, but we are connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead through this disciplic succession. With the same message that was bestowed to Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, the same message is being received by us today in the form of these books. The very same instructions, the very same mercy. So Srila Prabhupada translated all of these books, but the BBT who was translating under the guidance of Rameshwar Prabhu at that time, they were just simply producing one book every 2 months. This is what they were doing. And for this, it was really, really slow because Prabhupada was writing these books and the publishing was really, really slow. So Prabhupada was on a walk in Juhu Beach. And there he came to the devotees and he was very grave that day, it is described. And all of a sudden, he put his walking stick into the sand and he turned around and said, "Why is it so slow? Why is the publishing so slow?" And the devotees were really trying their best to publish as much as possible. First of all, they had to translate it, they had to typeset it, they had to find the appropriate artist to print to paint the appropriate picture, and then it would go through the whole editorial process, the printing process, and finally the book was published. This takes them 2 months. And Prabhupada is asking, why is it taking so long? I have 17 volumes just waiting. And the devotees were saying, we will try our best, Prabhupada. We will produce one book in 1 month. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, no. They said, Prabhupada, he said, I want all 17 volumes, which was the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and a few smaller books. I want all 17 volumes in 2 months. And the devotees looked around and they looked at Prabhupada and they said, no, Prabhupada, it is impossible. It is impossible. 17 volumes in 2 months. And Prabhupada dug his cane into the ground and angry said, impossible is a word in the fool's dictionary, and turned around and started walking again. The devotees, Rameshwar Prabhu and others, the bigger GBCs, they just looked at these devotees and thinking, how can you disrespect our spiritual master like this? He has a desire and you can't fulfill his desire. And they carried on walking with Prabhupada. But Rameshwar and another devotee, they were just thinking, it's impossible. How can we do it? And then all of a sudden, it said that the light just beaconed upon them, where these ideas just started coming. It just started coming. And then they caught up with Prabhupada again and said, Prabhupada, we have a plan. And this is our plan. We can move the entire BBT production from the East Coast move it back here to Los Angeles. We are requesting you to please stay as long as possible to help us with these Bengali translations. We are good at Sanskrit translations into English, but Bengali is new to us. And your presence here will also keep the devotees inspired. So this is what they decided, that we will deliver all 17 volumes on Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. So as they were doing this, they brought the entire production from the East Coast to the West Coast to Los Angeles Temple. And there they went on a marathon for 2 months. It's described that artists, they were just busy painting. And when their shift was over, they were barely sleeping or eating. They were just chanting their 16 rounds and sleeping for like 2 hours a day. This is all they were doing. And artists were busy painting these beautiful pictures in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that we relish here today. And as they were painting, as the shift was over, another artist would come and just complete it. And this is how they ran a 24-hour cycle, a 24-hour shift. And as they were doing this, there was a certain group who was in charge of the prasadam and their needs. There was a certain group who was in charge of the laundry and everything, just so that devotees could fulfill this desire for Prabhupada to publish all 17 volumes in 2 months. And it was possible. By Prabhupada's grace, Prabhupada's desire, Krishna fulfilled all of this. And finally, on the day before Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, this book was completed. They picked up the last volume. They picked up the last volume of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The devotee got onto a plane. He rushed over to Delhi from Los Angeles. When he got to New Delhi, he got onto a taxi and he rushed over to Vrindavan. And as he got off the taxi in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada was just finishing up his Vyasa Puja, where he was getting off the Vyasasan. And as he got off the Vyasasan in Krishna Balaram Mandir, he made his exit through the side door and he was going to his house in Vrindavan. And as he was about to enter his house, the devotee came. He offered full obeisances to Prabhupada and he presented the last book and said, Prabhupada, we have done it. So happy and so ecstatic that he has done it, or he and the team of devotees that have completed this task. Prabhupada picked up the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He looked at it and he said, you promised that the entire work will be finished before my Vyasa Puja. Now it is after my Vyasa Puja. And the devotee was so devastated, he didn't know what to do. He just kept bowing down. But Prabhupada then took the book, he went to his room, and he told the assistants and his secretaries and servants, I am so happy and I'm so proud of these devotees for accomplishing this task of completing this marathon of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And with this marathon of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the devotees, they knew that impossible is just in a word in a fool's dictionary. And worldwide, this message spread across the globe to every center that Prabhupada established, that yes, we can achieve the impossible. We can achieve the impossible for the glory of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in helping Srila Prabhupada spread this message. So this is what it did. It just opened up all the doors throughout the entire world. And this is what the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does as well. It just opened up this entire world and opened up the flood of love of Godhead to inundate this entire world, every soul with love of Godhead. Whether you wanted it or not, you are getting this mercy. It said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Navadvip Dham. Navadvip Dham, situated in current-day Bengal, is a place of learning. It's a place of transcendental knowledge. It was the capital of learning. It said that people from all around the world were just coming to Mayapur just to learn, the place of learning. So they would go, but as time went by, no one was really talking about transcendental knowledge anymore. Nobody was speaking about the Srimad Bhagavatam. If somebody was presenting from the Srimad Bhagavatam, they would go and recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. They would have these Bhagavad Saptas, but then they would speak about how to get money. And from money, we need to get our daughters married. This was the goal of life. So this is how people became contaminated in the beginning of the age of Kali. So Advaita Acharya and a few other Vaishnavas, they were just a handful that was situated in Navadvip. And Advaita Acharya became really, really angry by listening to this. He became very angry to see how this world is becoming so impersonal, how this world is becoming so full of atheism. And he didn't know what to do. So one day Advaita Acharya read that he read that if one worships a Shalagram Shila with Ganga Jal or Ganga water and Tulasi leaves, there is nothing in the Lord's possession that he can repay the devotee with. So this is what Advaita Acharya was doing every day on the banks of Shantipur, worshipping his Shalagram Shila with Ganga Jal and Tulasi leaves, and really calling out for the Lord to please come and descend into this material world. Advaita Acharya is Sada Shiva himself. He's Mahavishnu, but he was claiming that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has to descend and sort out this world immediately. He said that Advaita Acharya was like a lion. He was simply roaring that the entire world was shaking. The entire universe was shaking. The entire creation was shaking on the calls of Advaita Acharya. And when he did this, it said that Krishna had no other choice but to descend into this world to fulfill the desire of Advaita Acharya. But Advaita Acharya became so angry. He became so angry that he said, if the Lord does not descend onto this planet, then you will see my real form as Mahavishnu, and I will sever the heads of all of these miscreants on this planet. This is how angry he came. But then he was pacified again. So years later, the Upendra Mishra had a few children, and one of their sons was Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra then married the daughter of Nilambar Chakravarti in Kumarhata, and this is in Bangladesh. And then they came and they also settled down in Navadvip. And they always had a desire for a child. It said that Sachimata went through a few miscarriages, and then finally she gave birth to a very beautiful child whose name was Vishwarup. Vishwarup was none different from Shesha. He was not different from Balaram. He was so gentle. He was so kind. He was so loving to all living entities and so very respectful. This was Vishwarup. And then it said that in the year 1485, Sachimata had conceived another child. But this conception was different from the conceptions of the world today. It actually, that Jagannath Mishra, he told Sachimata that actually last night I had a dream. And in this dream, I saw this beautiful personality. It was the Supreme Personality of God descending from the spiritual world. And the Supreme Personality of God had descended right into my heart. And I worshiped the Supreme Personality of Godhead within my heart. And after that, I seen him transfer himself from my heart into your heart and into your womb. And Sachimata looked at Jagannath Mishra and said, I had the very same dream. I had the very same dream. So this was in the year 1485. It said that this child within the womb was there for 13 months. And as this was happening, Jagannath Mishra was saying within these 13 months that personalities from nowhere were just coming and they were just bestowing gifts upon him in charity. He didn't see these personalities ever before, but they were just coming and giving all these gifts. It said that sometimes they would hear singing of demigods in the house, praising the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they were totally bewildered and asking themselves, what is going on? Meanwhile, Sachimata had such a huge, beautiful effulgence. It felt like the sun was rising within her womb. But she was very, very concerned, because she had so many miscarriages, and now it is 13 months, and that she's not gone into labor as yet. So she went to her father, Nilambar Chakravarti Thakur, who was an astrologer, who was a Pandit. He said that this child is a very, very special child. He could see that this child is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he didn't bestow that knowledge upon them. And he said that this child is just waiting for the most opportune moment to descend, just waiting for that most opportune moment. So in the year 1486, in the year of Falgun, which is February, March, on a full moon night, it was an eclipse. And Rahu, who is the eclipse, was thinking, what is the use of blocking the moon when the full moon of Gaura Chandra is about to appear? And like this, he swallowed up the moon. And everyone became so bewildered and so afraid because it was an eclipse. So what did they do? All their material knowledge, and all the material opulence, they were so afraid to losing it. So what do people do? They run to the sacred river Ganges and they chant Krishna's name there. They chant Hari and they chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but all in fear, thinking that they're going to lose everything. So at that most opportune time, all the believers, all the persons of faith, and those without faith, those of other castes, those with Muslims, they were all chanting Hari Hari, Hari Hari, Hari Hari. Why? Because they didn't want to lose anything. The Muslims, they were thinking, look at these Hindus chanting Hari Hari, Hari Hari, Hari Hari. Advaita Acharya and his dear friend Haridas Thakur, they also went to the Ganges in Shantipur and they were just singing and dancing. Wow, let this mood last forever. The Lord didn't even descend onto this planet, and yet everyone is already, he's already fulfilling his purpose of everyone chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, this whole world became inundated with chanting of Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The whole world was filled with transcendental chanting of Krishna's holy name. What an ecstatic experience. The rivers started flowing in the opposite direction. It's described that fruits started bearing out of season. They just started blossoming in all different types of fruits and flowers. The entire world became purified by the chanting. Everything became auspicious. It said that the zodiac signs and the stars were the stars of Leo. And everything, all the stars became aligned to that because a great personality was about to appear. But meanwhile, in the house of Jagannath Mishra, he was becoming very, very afraid because nighttime was falling and he didn't know what to do. And Sachimata was in labor and he was just so in so much of anxiety. Sachimata herself was in so much anxiety, but she had to go to the birthing room outside to give birth. And she was thinking, I hope it's not another miscarriage. And she was praying with all her might to please make everything auspicious. And just then, at the most auspicious time, the time of this full moon rising, does this most ecstatic, most merciful, most magnificent, supreme personality of Godhead appears in this planet. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Demigods started showering flowers. They started singing hymns. They started playing on the musical instruments like the venas. They started blowing conch shells and beating drums, and all just glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we described, that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not come in every age of Kali. He only appears when Krishna, that original Bhagavan, that Swayam Bhagavan, appears in Dwapara Yuga once in a day of Brahma, or the 28th cycle of Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And that 28th cycle does Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear in the beginning of the age of Kali. It is not all the time. This is why great sages, great demigods all want to take birth right now. It said that before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Acharya appeared, Lord Nityananda appeared, Madhavendra Puri appeared. The father and mother, who was none other than Yashoda and Nanda, they all appear before the birth of their son, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everything became so ecstatic. The neighbors started coming and they saw this beautiful form, this golden form of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lying on the lap of Sachimata. Sachimata, Sri Sita Thakurani, the consort of Advaita Acharya, she came by palanquin. She immediately came by palanquin bearing all sorts of paddy, turmeric, rice, banana plantations, and all sorts of gold jewelry, silver jewelry, tiger's tooth which is plated in gold. All came with these auspicious items to give Sachimata and this baby. She saw this beautiful child lying under a neem tree and said, from this day on, we should call this child Nimai, because a neem tree wards away all evil. And she had so many miscarriages, so this will ward away everything, this beautiful child. She bestowed upon him so much different types of jewelry, like anklets and necklaces and hand bangles and so forth. She said that he has this beautiful golden complexion. We should call him Gaura Sundar. We should call him Gauranga. That beautiful form that has that angas, his limbs are reaching down to his knees. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with this golden complexion. We have not seen beauty like this in this world before, with this lotus-shaped eyes, with his nose like a sesame seed flower, with his lips which is reddish like a reddish bimba fruit, who has his beautiful golden feet, and the soles of the feet and the palms of his hands are reddish in complexion. And if you touch it, it becomes darker and darker, just like a lotus flower, so fragile. But there was one problem, devotees. As the whole world was chanting Hare Krishna, this baby just continued crying. And then the neighbors came and they were wondering, what should we do? What should we do? There's only one thing we can do in any situation, in happiness or distress. We chant Hare Krishna. So they started chanting Hari Hari. They started chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And as they did this, the child stopped. And as they stopped, the child continued crying. And then they started chanting again. And then the child stopped. And when they stopped, the child started crying again. And as he was crying again, they started chanting. And then, Hari, 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 Hari. And the child was pacified again. The child, this golden avatar, just appeared into this world. Just appeared into this world and already started Harinam Sankirtan. Already started his mission of congregationally chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur were dancing in ecstasy and they were saying, let this night last forever. Jagannath Mishra was receiving all of these gifts of cows and gold, and he wasn't a wealthy man. But what did Jagannath Mishra do? Being a real Brahmana, he was giving it to the Brahmanas, he was giving it to the cows, he was feeding the cows, he was feeding the poor, he was giving everything in charity. As he was receiving, he was just giving out more and more and more. This is his real spirit of a Vaishnava, to always be giving. And this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us. He's teaching us this compassion. He's teaching us this compassion that whatever we have, we should be giving out. And the more we give out, the more we receive. It said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami described, he's a gardener. He's a gardener and he's coming to the marketplace to sell all of his fruits. And in this marketplace, there are various vendors selling all sorts of different fruits. They're selling bananas, they're selling strawberries, they're selling all sorts of different fruits, and all for a certain price. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming and carrying his cart full of fruits into the marketplace. And he unveils his cart and people see this special type of fruit, which has no skin. It has no seed in the side. It is just pure nectar. It is love of Godhead. And they're thinking, oh, look at this merchandise. It must be so expensive. And what does he say? Being an expert Sankirtan devotee, he said, this fruit is free. Come and take it. And he gives out this fruit to everyone and anyone. And as we are all relishing this fruit of pure nectar, of no seed or skin, just nectar of pure love of God, and we're relishing it, we're thinking, will we get another one? Will we get another one? And he says, oh, he's going to charge us. We say, he's going to charge us a heavy price for the next one. It's all a marketing scheme. And what does Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? He says that you give the fruit that you are eating to someone else and you get more. The more fruit you give out, the more you receive. The more mercy you give out, the more mercy you shall receive. So this is our process, devotees. The more mercy we give out, the more mercy we will receive. Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur says that the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just like an expanding ocean of nectar. And one who does not collect the valuable jewels from this ocean, within this ocean, is certainly the poorest of the poor. Taking on my own head the property of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Acharya Advaita Chandra, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami, I, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, have thus described the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Hari ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Don't waste this moment, devotees. Life is so precious, and now we have this valuable jewel of Krishna consciousness, which is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personified. do whatever you can to give out this mercy, and then you will get the mercy 100 times back. And like this, we can all go back home to Godhead, just like, and follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Jai Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for
Hare
enlivening us. Is there any questions or comments or realizations from anybody? Welcome everybody to the program. Would you like to share any comments or realizations? Prabhu, if you'd like to share a few minutes kirtan with us, Prabhu, please, before we end off. Thank you so much, Prabhu. We hope to hear you again next week.
You always catch me. You always catch me, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ram Vishnu Padmanam Sarva Vigraja Acharya Astotram Shri Shrimati Divine Grace H.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya BBT founder Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ram Vishnu Padmanam Sarva Vigraja Acharya Astotram Shri Shrimati His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavan ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरी गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। The Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Planted in the book distribution ki jai. Gandharaj Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you,
Pancha
devotees.
Kalpatarubhyascha,
Hare Krishna.
Kripa Sindhubhayavacha,
Vipassanavecha
Nupayavacha,
Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Namaha.
Ayananda Koti Vaishnava Jai.
Jai.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Thank you, devotees.
Thank you.
तं सजीवं
साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादां सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितां हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bhagavati Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Bhaja Shri Krishna